Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's British Council Youth Connect live session. I'm Rasha Shukur, and I lead Youth and Civil Society sector at the British Council in Lebanon. I will start by introducing Youth Connect Live, which is a series of online live sessions for young people all around the world to develop skills they need to connect to themselves, their community, and the wider world. Wherever you're joining us from, today, every community has visible and invisible divides, whether based on religion, ethnicity, politics, gender, nationality, generation, or simply different lived experiences. Today's conversation isn't about Lebanon alone. It's about something universal. How ordinary young people can bridge community divides and how this deepens trust and allow for dialogue, collaboration, and collective action. In the question and answers, tell us where you're joining from, and in one word, what division or challenge in your community you're trying to overcome. While I'm talking, the British Council team will post some practicalities about this session in the chat. As you know, this is the first session of two connected sessions on the power of bridging divides across. The follow-on session will be a Q&A session in which we will respond to the questions that you might ask. So please do share your questions, but note that we will not be responding today. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Maria Jalhoud, who will speak about her work about bridging divides across communities in Lebanon. Hello, Maria.
Hello.
Before we start, can you tell us how bridges can be built between communities? And maybe tell us a little bit about the initiative that you were part of.
Definitely. So I was part of the Youth Connect initiative, which started in Lebanon around 2 years ago. The idea of this initiative was to bring together two neighboring communities, which are Ma'an al-Minna and Dahya. One region is predominantly Christian and the other is Muslim. Personally, I'm from Ma'an al-Minna. I come from a very Christian family, overprotective parents. So the atmosphere I grew up in was very, very secluded. And later on, I started wondering about the other community.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more what kind of divisions and misunderstanding existed between these two communities, and why did you join such a program, and why did you think it is important to join such a program?
I joined this program actually by chance, and what a beautiful chance. It was a blessing, quite literally. To talk about a bit of context, even though these neighboring regions are close by, however, historically, for those who don't know, uh, there happened to be a Lebanese civil war where both communities fought against each other, and mainly it was, even though there were political associations, it was mainly due to religious differences. And sadly, up until now, our parents still transfer to us these grievances and the stereotypes. So constantly hear stories about the other. That actually encouraged me to halt everything that I had inherited and focus on discovering who the other actually is. So I stopped looking at the other community as others, but rather trying to see everyone as Lebanese citizens as we should be.
On a more personal note, Maria, what change did you witness throughout the project?
Personally, I was someone who was very shy. I still struggle with it a bit, but the program really gave me a lot of confidence. I got out of my comfort zone. I met new people. We got engaged together. We fought together. I discovered a very embracing and empowering community that I did not know actually existed in Lebanon. I was really happy to be part of it.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Looking back at the initiative, what made it feel like a journey?
We actually made it feel like a journey rather than an initiative, and I would like to stress on this was mainly trust and the relationship that was building slowly. Trust cannot be directly earned. So it had to be built gradually. Sitting with people, learning more about them, hearing about their stories was amazing. I remember the first time I actually met everyone. We were quite literally in the same room. Just like history sadly, each was occupying a specific area, his own room, and we were constantly like looking at each other, like, what is the other gonna do? For a moment, there was silence. We looked in fear at each other, and we realized that we share the same fears, but we don't know why. In our subconscious mind, we were fearful, mistrusting of the other. However, at the end of the day, we were all human, and the fact that we saw each other naturally as the human we are was amazing, and it started breaking the ice slowly. So the more we learned about each other, the more we sat together, we shared common interests. We didn't really tackle conflicts or like sensitive topics quite immediately, but rather we learned about each other's hobbies, interests, dreams, and we found that we had so much in common. And mainly that's how it started, and it continued. It's still until now. We still constantly communicate and build on what we had started.
So you started as strangers, and then you moved into understanding each other and seeing the other as having
They are.
as having shared interests, shared aspirations, and then what?
And then we decided to put everything in action. So there are several approaches to this matter. We decided to proceed with the collective action project, which is an initiative where we gather data and we put everything we know into action. So we conducted surveys, focus groups, interviews, etc. And at the same time, in parallel, we sat together, we talked, we went to events together, went to the movies, we quite literally broke the ice. And these continued together. So there was trust. There was moments where we faced difficulties, but we knew how to overcome these.
Okay. Can you share with us or reflect on something like a specific moment or activity or even a conversation that made you and other people feel safe to break that stereotype you had against each other?
Yes. I remember when the conflict actually between Lebanon and Israel had restarted. There was a lot of tension between both communities. However, because we knew each other, we were able to discuss these things because trust was starting to build. So I remember that one time a friend of mine was actually sharing what her family had gone through, and I understood where she came from. And during that moment, I just wanted to hug her, honestly. And I discovered that even though within one same community, there were sub-communities and it's regional. So for example, a specific group of one community in Bekaa faces something different that another group of the same community in South Lebanon faces. So I thought as a person that, as a citizen, as a good citizen, that what should happen here is trying to have these people join each other. So to try and mitigate, even though it's from a different community, but I thought of it as citizenship, and that made me feel happy because I wasn't part of this community, but I really felt welcomed and embraced by everyone. So that was an amazing example I had gone through.
Maria, many people watching us today may be asking themselves, this sounds inspiring, but how do we actually do it? If you had to break your experience into practical steps around building bridges across community divides that another group of young people could follow anywhere in the world, what would those be?
Okay, there is not one formula to follow, but from experience, because we had tried several steps, some failed, others gave us short-term victories, but the consequences changed later on. So I would say that there are mainly 6 steps to consider. First of all, start with yourself. Forget about the idea of trying to fix the other, because the other does not need fixing. The other needs support, needs help, needs to feel empowered, embraced. I remember a philosophical saying popularized by Socrates, which is, "Man, know thyself." So focus on yourself, focus on everything that you had inherited from your parents, from your community, all the troubles or those thoughts. Learn to understand where they came from, deal with shutting them down so that you could properly hear the other. And more importantly, you could listen to the other. It's not just about hearing, it's about understanding them, understanding what they face. And to do that, you need to focus on yourself first. Now, secondly, you should first of all build trust without before tackling difficulties or sensitive topics. So, and to do that, you need to sit together with the other person, learn more about them, understand what they like, what they generally dislike, and moving on to the third step would be trying to find a common purpose. So within all these differences, focus on what's joining you guys together. What do you want? What are you seeking? Each has different perspective, but at the end of the day, we realize that both communities wanted the good for the country, but each translated it in their own ways, which is very normal. So we were able to dissect the different perspectives and trying to merge them into something common to find a solution. Then, once you found your purpose, that's when you start taking actions. So that's when you sit together and you create a plan. You see how you're going to achieve what you are thinking of. It can be through events that you can host. It can be through conversations, through social media, through several initiatives. That's up to you, and it's up to what you have in hand as material or
Resources.
Exactly, the resources. There is a fifth and very, very, very important step, which is to stay connected. Guys, the project it's not something that should be ended in one day. As we already mentioned, it's a journey. So it continues and it grows with you. So check in on the other person every once in a while. Talk to them, see how they are doing. And that's how actually you build friendship. That's how you actually build a society that is cohesion in society. That's how you know that you can hold the other person's hand through any difficulty and overcome it. And lastly, that's when actually you can take everything that you had learned back into your communities. So you started by focusing on yourself. You found something in common with the other person, you built trust, you put it all into action, you stayed connected, you built friendship, and that's when you actually apply everything back to your community. So you're fixing your surrounding, your small surrounding, and it goes wider. So you tell them about your experience, you share what you had gone through, and the way that you are thinking. You're gonna face lots of backlashes, and that's very normal. So don't be scared, and take it gradually, take it step by step, and have them see things differently. There is the cave allegory by Plato. It actually reflects this quite literally when you're introducing someone to something new, and that new is the truth that they are not used to. So do your best, and eventually, you're gonna reach your goals.
So, Maria, what you're saying is to start with yourself, and then to break the stereotype that you have about the other person.
Exactly.
Start building trust, find a shared purpose, and then go back to it. Yeah, put it into action and go back to the community to amplify this.
Exactly.
That's very practical. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
So building bridges is really straightforward. What were some of the biggest challenges that you and your group encountered?
As I had previously mentioned, we faced lots of backlashes, and we were uncertain if we were going to achieve change. Like, we were a group of young people from specific regions. We were youth, so first of all, our voice wasn't that loud. We didn't have many contacts. I mean, it was a matter of credibility, like who would actually follow us. But eventually we learned that even though we were young, but we were many. And so our voices merged together to reach both communities. and that's mainly how we overcame the obstacles, the challenges. There were several difficulties. First of all, when we were trying to break the ice among one another, but because we shared the same vision and because we tried to understand the other person, we knew how to get over these, and we were more and more confident that we should be the change in our communities, and it should start with us as young people, as the future. We knew that, so that empowered us greatly.
So can you think of a specific incident or a challenge that made you think this isn't gonna work, and what happened? What made you move forward?
I'm gonna talk about an instance where someone, actually an elderly, that I was having a conversation with, they told me that I was not giving value for the bloodshed in the war. Can you imagine that?
Oh.
So that destroyed me, not because there was any truth in what he was saying, but because of the way he was thinking and because of the circumstances and what he had seen and what many others in the other community had faced. So when I actually shared this incident with my friends from both groups, we started to find a way where we can address the elderly or people from the previous generation in a language that they would understand.
Mhm.
So once we conducted several focus groups on that matter to come up with ways to make that work, and eventually we succeeded to a certain degree, which was awesome. Starting from our parents, actually, our parents now are best friends, quite literally.
So, Maria, my understanding is that you were from two different communities, and then you became like subgroups.
Exactly.
But subgroups, homogeneous groups or mixed groups. Can you tell us more?
We were mixed, but we embraced our differences.
Mhm.
So we all became, in Arabic we say "قلب واحد." So we were all following the same passion, the same purpose, and that brought us all together.
Can you share with us like something that you are proud of?
Yeah, I'm proud of taking part in the collective decision-making event. That event brought together us as youth, as young people, and we got the chance to connect with stakeholders. So we got the chance to talk to
Like what?
a minister,
Yeah.
a member of parliament, a judge, members of civil society organizations, very, very highly ranked people. And as youth, we had this idea in the back of our minds that those people were very far from reach and out of reality and maybe inaccessible, and that they wouldn't provide much help. We were wrong. See, we judged them. We shouldn't have done that. We judged. These people were amazing. They challenged our question. They make us think even more. They gave us lead. They gave us support. They gave us mentorship. They were there for us, and that helped us greatly move forward because we felt like we were embraced by a youthful group and by different parts of societies altogether. So it helped us greatly with the reach of our goal and to know that we are heard.
Okay. But Maria, you said highly ranked people and stakeholders, and that they were like supportive and they provided all the support, the mentorship, and everything. Do you think that that was their perception at the beginning before you got the chance like to sit together?
I think that no. Generally, they do know that youth have power, but we just need to be directed properly so that we could put everything we know into positive action. And we were surprised that as youth, we were no longer perceived as beneficiaries, but rather as activists,
Collaborators.
as collaborators, as a group which they can refer to know what the future is bringing towards our country. And that made us feel proud that they saw us that way.
So within this initiative, you actually had the chance to sit side by side with other stakeholders, highly ranked.
Very high ranked.
So duty bearers, policymakers, judges, other civil society organizations, and do what?
We sat together, we learned from them, and it helped us more implement what we were thinking about, to come to more to a positive action, as already mentioned.
Okay, so you had the chance to sit side by side with them to co-create like solutions that
to
you
build
have.
trust.
Yeah.
To build trust on both sides. So they trusted us, and we eventually trusted them greatly. We felt embraced, really felt embraced.
All right, so many initiatives involving youth around the world invest in dialogue and social cohesion programs, yet many struggle to create a lasting change. From your experience, if I can say, like, what are the secret ingredients that makes initiatives like this sustainable rather than one-off events or one-off projects in which their impact is only limited to the timeline of the project?
Focus on turning the initiative into a journey. It's something lasting. So you are growing with a person, you are learning with them. You are practically living two lives, but they will be merged at some point. Like you're constantly checking up on them. You're building friends. You're building great relationships. So think of it that way. And to do that, you should build trust. You should learn more about the other person, and you should think in a way that you should seek diversity, and you shouldn't be scared of it. In order to create change, in order to aim towards a better society, better cohesion, you should know what the other person has to say, and you shouldn't be afraid of them. You should embrace them. And I would say as well that you should have repeated engagement. So you should encourage your community and other youth to participate in cohesive initiatives that are around you, or to attend maybe meetings, webinars like this. Another thing would be think in a more collective way of the actions that you will be implementing. Don't be scared of talking to highly ranked people, of reaching out to them. You might be dismissed a few times, but that's okay. Keep on trying, because eventually they're gonna talk to you, and they're gonna discover that you have a lot of potential to give. They're gonna empower you. They're gonna help you out. Seek mentorship. In our program, we had mentors that were helping us all along, supporting us to put our ideas into action the right and proper way for the best outcome. And mainly, I think that's it. Once you take action, you would feel ownership. You would feel like you're very, very, very proud of what you are achieving. The little projects that you create with your friends, they become your babies, and they grow to with you. So don't be afraid of taking a step. Always take steps forward, no matter how small or huge, but don't sit there. Do something.
So the ingredients of sustainability would be diversity, to put different people together, and
Building
repeated engagement, and putting
collective action with stakeholders. Don't be afraid of stakeholders.
Okay, and also building the sense of ownership for young people. That was very inspiring, Maria. Last question. Can you imagine a young person watching us today who believes in that the divisions within their community are simply too deep to overcome? What would you say to them briefly? and what small action they could take this week to begin building a bridge where they live.
Okay, first of all, I want to tell you all that's okay. If you are feeling that way, that's very normal. We faced that in the early stages when there are divisions that are that long lasting for years, for generations, sometimes for decades and centuries. It's very normal to feel like change is impossible because the stereotypes, the ideas, whatever, are rooted in our communities and in the subconscious mind. So it's okay. Don't be scared. Uh, things will work out well if you take steps. So what I
What
encourage
kind
you
of
to do,
steps?
what I encourage you to do this week would be if you know that someone is different from you in your contacts or maybe someone that you meet, invite them for a cup of coffee. Like talk to them. Take very small steps toward them. Sometimes if you walk past a person and just smile reassuringly, you can make their day, quite literally. So I encourage you to talk to someone who is different than you, to sit and understand them, learn more about their story, what they have to say. And if you find things in common, which I know you will, I encourage you to take action. So, for example, if you both like basketball, go play a match or two. If you like the environment, participate in any initiative to help the environment. So do things that you have in common, and that's how you build ties with the other person. That's how you overcome the stereotypes that you had inherited, and that's how you make yourself and the other person more happy, more empowered, and that's how you build a strong community. So don't be afraid to take any step forward, as previously said, small or big. Sometimes you can't really expect to create a great change in one day to change your entire community, but sometimes don't forget that great movements start from one conversation, and one conversation can be the change. So why not take that step, talk together, and be the change?
Thank you, Maria. That was very inspiring journey, and thank you for the valuable lessons that you have shared with us. And thank you everyone who joined us today from all around the world. I hope today's conversation has shown you that while every community's context is unique, building trust, fostering dialogue, and creative positive change all begin with small intentional actions. We'll see you again on the 15th of July to address all the questions here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.